Shalom, we are moving ahead now with Psalm 55. For the leader with instrumental music, a maskil of David. Give ear, O God, to my prayer. Do not ignore my plea. Pay heed to me and answer me. I am tossed about, complaining and moaning at the clamor of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked. For they bring evil upon me and furiously harass me. My heart is convulsed within me. Terrors of death assail me. Fear and trembling invade me. I am clothed with horror. I said, Oh, that I had the wings of a dove. I would fly away and find rest. Surely I would flee far off. I would lodge in the wilderness, Selah. I would soon find me a refuge from the sweeping wind, from the tempest. O Lord, confound their speech, confuse it. For I see lawlessness and strife in the city. Day and night they make their rounds on its walls. Evil and mischief are inside it. Malice is within it. Fraud and deceit never leave its square. It is not an enemy who reviles me. I could bear that. It is not my foe who vaunts himself against me. I could hide from him. But it is you, my equal, my companion, my friend. Sweet was our fellowship. We walked together in God's house. Let him incite death against them. May they go down alive into Sheol, for where they dwell, there evil is. As for me, I call to God. The Lord will deliver me. Evening, morning, and noon I complain and moan, and he hears my voice. He redeems me unharmed from the battle against me. It is as though many are on my side. God, who has reigned from the first, who will have no successor, hears and humbles those who have no fear of God, Selah. He harmed his ally, he broke his pact. His talk was smoother than butter, yet his mind was on war. His words were more soothing than oil, yet they were drawn swords. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous man collapse. For you, O God, will bring them down to the nethermost pit. Those murderous, treacherous men, they shall not live out half their days, but I trust in you. A very powerful psalm with strong and inspiring words. I must admit that as a Caucasian male, I have enjoyed many privileges throughout my life, and I have not experienced the weight and burden of deep prejudice and maltreatment by others. Certainly, there have been times when I have known and experienced anti-Semitism directly, but I never felt that my life was threatened or that my body was threatened with physical harm from those or by those who hate me for who I am. How different it must be, and indeed it is, for people of color in this country. I'm thinking of African Americans, especially nowadays, and I'm wondering how strongly they must relate to the words of this psalm. When the psalmist talks about feeling tossed about, complaining and moaning because of the oppression of the wicked, who bring evil upon him and furiously harass him, he talks about his terror of death. Fear and trembling invade him, and he is clothed in horror. Imagine what it must be like to be a person in the United States of America of the 21st century who has to worry about going to the corner store or jogging down a street or sitting in a car or doing anything that is a harmless act in today's day and age, but could be followed up with an act of brutality and violence and possibly even death under the hands of law enforcement. Imagine what it must be like to go through life each and every day wondering if you will be safe, feeling threatened because of how you were born. Certainly, We Jews know what that feels like, or at least the previous generations knew, especially those who lived under the banner of the swastika in Nazi Germany and whose lives were taken from them, who lived each and every day threatened, who wondered if they would come out of each and every day alive. But now, even though anti-Semitism continues to be a very strong and concerning force in this country, it does not hold a candle to the levels of racism and the threats constantly against our African American brothers and sisters and other peoples of color. And so, the psalmist reminds us of what it must feel like to be pursued, to be threatened, to put ourselves in their shoes. We as Jews were reminded in our Passover Haggadah, Avadim Hayinu leFaro b'Mitzrayim. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. We come from a people who were enslaved, but who found liberation. Even though our African American brothers and sisters, who come from generations of slaves, were emancipated by Abraham Lincoln in the 19th century, they still have not gained full emancipation and equality in our country, in our land. Under the banner of law enforcement, lawlessness happens. Under the guise of maintaining a society of law and order and safety, the safety and security of so many are compromised to the point where they lose their lives. And so today, people are marching, people are protesting, and this is as it should be. But at the same time, the psalmist says, "As for me, I call to God, the Lord will deliver me. Evening, morning, and noon I complain and moan, and he hears my voice." And perhaps it is no accident that people of color, especially in African American churches and Latino churches in our country, that those churches have been such a strong source of support and strength to their community. Those institutions, for centuries, have been a source of such support. And the idea that they can gather together and pray and sing hymns to the Lord while they are suffering so and experiencing such anguish and prejudice on the outside, well, that very idea is inspiring to me. I don't know if you have ever had the opportunity to attend a service in an African American church, but one cannot leave without feeling uplifted and understanding how strong their faith is and how important religion can be for those who experience such severe oppression and continued threats of persecution in our country. And so we are reminded about the power of faith and belief in God. And we are grateful that we live in a country that endorses and practices freedom of religion, where all faiths and all religions under law can gather together to find mutual support and strength. During this time, I believe that faith and religion can inspire us and help to see us through, while the forces of social justice will continue to be the driving engine for change in our troubled land. Thank you.